Today we are going to discuss about the first topic, verb and to infinitive. It can be used in three conditions: never with object, always with object, and sometimes with object. The first one under verb and to infinitive is never with object. Examples of verb that don't have object in between the verb and to infinitive like choose, learn, plan, tend, manage, prepare, aim, neglect, can't afford, appear, deserve, offer, attempt, promise, and can't wait. This verb can never with object. Example of verb with never with object, like we can see the first one, I managed to update my laptop into the latest operating system Windows 11. There's no object between the word manage and to. It's a special case for the usage of verb promise. As you can see, I promise you something, I promise to do something, I promise you that I will do something, but not I promise you to do something. As you can see, you cannot put an object between promise and to. Secondly is for always with object. Example of verb that always come with objects are dare, remind, encourage, teach, force, tell, invite, warn, order, and persuade. Lastly, for the sometimes with objects, they can give different meaning. The example of verbs are ask, beg, help, request, assume, expect, intend, and want. Next is the example of verb always with objects. As you can see, the first one, Lisa invites Ali to join her trip to the 2021 annual Cybersecurity Expo. The sentence will be wrong if Lisa invites to join her trip, but the sentence will be right when they put an object, which is Ali, in front of the to. Next is the example of verb sometimes with object. As you can see, the first one, we expected to be late. The second one is we expected Ali to be late. Both sentences are correct whether we put an object before the to or not.
Next is verb plus ing form. These are the example verbs that can be used with ing form. Example verb plus ing sentence. Number 1. When we start walking, our body needs largest amount of force to get out of inertia. Start is the verb. It follows another verb with ing that is walking. Number 2. Can you imagine not having a mobile phone nowadays? This is an example of negative sentence. Verb imagine is followed by the ing with negative form that is not having. Number 3. Avoid smelling random chemicals in lab class. Avoid is the verb and smelling is the verb followed with ing.
Two verbs plus to infinitive or ing. There are three ways to use it. First, no difference in meaning. Second, small difference in meaning. And third, fundamental difference in meaning. First way, no difference in meaning. Those are few verbs that can be followed by both ing or to infinitive without change in meaning. This is the case of hate. I hate doing experiments or I hate to do experiment. Another example are continue and prefer. These verbs use ing and to infinitive and both are perfectly fine. The second way is small difference in meaning. We normally choose the ing option to emphasize the action in general, and we use to infinitive option to emphasize particular preference about that action. One of the verbs is hate. I hate studying chemistry. Use ing means I hate the action of studying chemistry in general. I hate to study chemistry the day before the exam. With to infinitive refers to a very specific situation. Maybe I'm okay studying chemistry, but not the day before the exam. Next is the fundamental difference in meaning. Those verbs can be followed by both ing and to infinitive, but with total change in meaning. Let us see how the verb stop works. I should stop going to bed so late because it is bad for my health. When I go running, I always stop to breathe for a few minutes. Both are correct, but what is the difference? Stop going. Stop with ing means to quit an action, not to do that anymore. Stop with to infinitive, stop to breathe means to pause an action to do something else. You can read the example on how to use remember and forget, and also regret before we move to another part.
we go to verb plus object plus to infinitive or no object plus ing. Verb are followed by the to infinitive when they have an object and by ing when they have no object. It can be simplified as the first one, verb plus object plus to infinitive and verb plus no object plus ing. Let's take a look at the examples that have been provided. Verb represented by the yellow color, ing represented by the purple color, and the last one, object, represented by the blue color. The first example, I advise adding nets. I advise you to add nets. Can you see the difference between the both sentences? I advise adding nets and I advise you to add nets. After advise, there is no object, so we have to use ing. So it becomes I advise adding nets. And the second one, I advise you to add nets. So you is object, so we have to use to infinitive. So it becomes I advise you to add nets. For the second example, they allow using force. They allow us to use force. For the first, after verb allow, there is no object, so we have to use ing. So it becomes they allow using force. And the second one, they allow us. Us here act as an object. So after object, we have to use to infinitive. So it becomes they allow us to use force. And the third one, for the last example, I recommend using apricots. I recommend you to use apricots. The following verbs, which are feel, hear, see, and watch, always have an object. For the first example, by using verb felt, she felt her passion dwindling away. The second sentence, she felt someone touch her shoulder. Notice the difference in meaning between the sentence 1 and sentence 2. The verb felt in first sentence, it means a continuing process over a period of time, while for the second sentence, it is a short completed action. For the last example, by using verb heard, she heard her mother singing as she came downstairs. For the second sentence, she heard the doorbell ring. For the first sentence, heard here means a continuing action, while for the second sentence, it is a short complete action.
Lastly, we look at adjective followed by to infinitive and ing form. Example adjective sentences. Number 1. It is dangerous to touch the bare wire. Dangerous is the adjectives that follow by to infinitive form, to touch. Number 2. Don't be afraid to say what you think. Afraid is an adjective followed by to infinitive and say verb. There is also phrase adjective that can be used with ing form. For example, I've always been afraid of flying. Number 3. I find it interesting to observe the plants grow. Exercise number 1. Tom recalled his credit card at the store. The answer is using. Number 2. Technology allows us deeper into the mysteries of the minuscule. The answer is to peer. Number 3. You must elements when taking chemistry. The answer is learn. Number 4. Flame test works the cat iron within the compound. The answer is to identify. Number 5. Biology is my least favorite subject. The answer is to study. Number 6. Terrorists are modern technology for their destructive work. The answer is using. Number 7. Traveling has become easy and fast in minutes. Transportation. The answer is using. Number 8. Stop the medicine if allergy become worse. The answer is taking. Lastly, many people prefer latest model of device to ensure they can catch up with the technology evolves. The answer is using.